The dark secret, hidden behind this 1,000-year-old mummy, shocked the entire world. A 1,000-year-old mummy was discovered sitting in a fetal position, but the terrifying part is not its appearance. It's the dark secret hidden behind it. An ancient tomb contained the remains of children who were forced to die so they could be buried alongside the tomb's owner thousands of years ago. A pair of male and female skeletons still held hands after 3,500 years beneath the frozen ice of Siberia, as if their final moment had never truly ended. Deep inside a dark cave in Africa lie the traces of prehistoric artists who already knew how to mix paint more than 100,000 years ago. All of these discoveries show us that ancient history does not only contain forgotten secrets, but also dark truths capable of sending chills through the modern world. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ancient History Channel, the place where we uncover the strangest and most terrifying mysteries ever buried beneath the dust of time. In today's video, you will follow shocking excavations from Peru, China, and Russia to ancient caves in South Africa. Some discoveries have forced scientists to completely rethink what they knew about human ancestors. Other tombs have revealed burial rituals so cruel they are almost impossible to believe. And most importantly, the secret behind the 1,000-year-old mummy discovered in Pachacamac near Lima, Peru, continues to spark fierce debate among researchers to this very day. Because behind those dried skeletons lying motionless for thousands of years, there may be horrifying stories that history has never fully told. So prepare yourselves, because the deeper we go into the ancient world, the more we realize one terrifying truth. Some secrets were never truly lost to time. They were simply waiting to be unearthed once again. And now, without making you wait any longer, let's begin with our very first discovery. 1,000-year-old seated mummy in Peru reveals the truth behind the city that worshipped the god of death. Have you ever imagined that in a barren land along the Pacific coast of Peru, archaeologists would discover a woman who died more than 1,000 years ago, yet whose body remained almost perfectly preserved, sitting curled up like a sleeping fetus? And the most chilling part was not the mummy's strange appearance, but the place where she was buried. A massive ancient cemetery beside an abandoned temple where mysterious rituals of a pre-Inca civilization once took place centuries ago. If you've never heard of it before, then come with me as we travel back in time to the year 2012. That year, at the archaeological site of Pachacamac near Peru's capital city of Lima, researchers uncovered a large number of ancient skeletons and mummies. But the most remarkable discovery among them was the mummy of a woman around 50 years old, preserved in extraordinary condition despite spending more than a millennium beneath the ground. She was discovered in a tightly curled seated position identical to a fetus inside a mother's womb, with her knees pressed against her chest as if she had tried to shrink away from death itself. The mummy was found in Pachacamac, an ancient sacred city located along the southern coastal region near Lima, about 25 miles south of Peru's capital. This place was once one of the most important religious centers in ancient South America, where thousands of pilgrims traveled to worship a god named Pachacamac, the deity the local people believed had created the first man and woman on Earth. Just hearing that alone is enough to make the place feel mysterious, isn't it? What's even more disturbing is that this woman was not the only mummy discovered there. During the 2012 excavation, archaeologists uncovered more than 80 additional skeletons and mummies, including infants. Many experts believe some of them may have been sacrificed as part of ancient religious rituals. Even more terrifying, most of the bodies were buried in the exact same strange curled-up position. In addition, around 70 more skeletons and mummies were found carefully wrapped, as though the ancient people had meticulously prepared them for a journey into the afterlife. Experts say that for the people of that era, death was not considered an ending, but a rebirth. That is why the fetal position was believed to symbolize humanity returning to the cycle of life. More than 1,000 years ago, while many parts of the world were still consumed by war and chaos, the people of this land had already built an enormous spiritual center filled with pyramids, temples, and highly complex burial rituals. And according to researchers, Pachacamac was once home to thousands of residents from around 800 AD to 1450 AD. Over the centuries, the city flourished and gradually became one of the most important settlements in ancient South America, Its people built as many as 17 large and small pyramids across the dry coastal desert. Later, when the Inca Empire expanded its power throughout South America, Pachacamac was absorbed into the mighty Inca civilization. Today, this entire archaeological zone covers approximately 1,480 acres of barren desert land and is considered just as important as Machu Picchu or the mysterious Nazca Lines. But unlike famous tourist destinations admired for their breathtaking beauty, Pachacamac haunts people because of what lies hidden beneath its soil. This 1,000-year-old female mummy was discovered by the IXMA archaeological project led by the Université Libre de Bruxelles. In fact, the university has been conducting excavations at Pachacamac since 1999 and has continuously uncovered astonishing secrets about the ancient civilization that once existed there. What shocked experts the most was the mummy's almost perfectly preserved condition. When preparing to transport the artifact for exhibition at the Musée des Confluences in France, archaeologists decided to preserve the exact position in which the mummy had been discovered underground. They did not alter or straighten the body, because even the slightest disturbance could damage the fragile remains after thousands of years of silent rest. And perhaps the thing that leaves people thinking the most is the invisible gaze that this mummy seems to leave behind. A woman who lived more than 1,000 years ago, who once walked, laughed, believed in gods, and was eventually buried quietly beneath the ancient desert. Yet even today, she is still telling the story of an entire civilization that vanished from the world. Isn't that fascinating? Noble child's remains were buried with its pet dog in a 2,000-year-old tomb in France. Can you believe this? In what seemed like an ordinary construction site in central France, archaeologists uncovered a secret so astonishing that even veteran researchers were left speechless. And that secret was not gold, silver, or an ancient treasure, but the grave of a baby about 1 year old, buried nearly 2,000 years ago beside its beloved pet dog. What makes this discovery even more chilling is that after all those centuries, the tomb remained almost perfectly intact beneath the earth, as if time itself had never touched it. Even more fascinating, as scientists excavated deeper, they discovered that this child may once have belonged to an extremely wealthy and powerful family during the ancient Roman era. The story officially came to light on January 14, 2021, when archaeologists announced the remarkable discovery following an excavation near the Clermont-Ferrand airport in central France. The dig had originally been carried out in preparation for a new development project, but no one expected that beneath the layers of soil and stone lay such an emotional story about family bonds and ancient burial rituals. Experts quickly determined that the tomb dated back around 2,000 years, during the time when the Roman Empire ruled ancient Gaul, the territory that is now modern-day France. The child had been buried in a small coffin measuring about 31 inches long. Although the baby was only around 1 year old at the time of death, the objects buried alongside it revealed that this was no ordinary child. Just think about it. In the ancient world 2 millennia ago, when most people lived very modestly, this child was laid to rest with numerous valuable grave goods. What does that tell us? Doesn't it reveal a great deal about the child's social status? Archaeologists also revealed that the entire tomb measured about 6.5 feet long and nearly 3 feet wide, containing close to 20 different burial objects. Among the discoveries were several ceramic jars and ancient glass bottles believed to have once held perfume oils or precious medicines. But that was not all. Inside the tomb, researchers also found half of a pig, several cuts of pork, and 2 decapitated chickens, offerings commonly used in funeral rituals during ancient times. However, the detail that captured the most attention lay right beside the child. It was a small dog buried alongside the baby, as though it had never wanted to leave its owner's side. According to scientists, there have been a few cases in which dogs were found buried with children during the Gallo-Roman period. But what made this discovery unique was that the dog was still wearing a decorative bronze collar fitted with a tiny bell. Just hearing that feels both strange and heartbreaking, doesn't it? The collar suggests that the dog was not an ordinary animal, but likely a cherished pet carefully cared for by a noble family. Experts believe the dog may have been buried with the child as a symbol of protection or companionship in the afterlife. And the discoveries didn't stop there. The archaeological team also found a baby tooth from an older child placed carefully on a broken seashell. Researchers believe the tooth may have belonged to the baby's brother or sister, like a final gift sent to a lost loved one. It is this detail that transforms the tomb from a simple archaeological discovery into what feels like a frozen emotional moment preserved beneath the earth for 2,000 years. According to INRAP, the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research, young children during the Gallo-Roman period were often not buried using the same funeral rituals as adults. At that time, most adults were cremated, while children were commonly buried outside communal funeral areas, sometimes even close to where their families lived. That is why the fact that this child was placed inside a large tomb filled with numerous high-quality burial objects is considered extremely rare. 4,300-year-old stone city in China and the mysterious underground tunnel network. Hidden deep beneath the dry layers of soil in Inner Mongolia, China, archaeologists have uncovered a secret that is forcing many people to rethink what they know about ancient civilizations. Beneath a famous 4,300-year-old stone city lies an enormous and incredibly complex underground tunnel network, a maze-like system created by Neolithic humans thousands of years ago. What makes this discovery truly astonishing is that the system was not made up of just a few simple passageways. It was designed in a radial pattern spreading outward from the center of the city, with large and small tunnels connected together like a real military complex. All of this suggests that the ancient people who lived here may have possessed construction skills and defensive strategies far beyond what we previously imagined. This shocking site is located at the ancient stone city of Haochengzui in Qingshuihe County, Hohhot City, Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, China. The ruins sit along the northern bank of the Hun River and have long been considered one of the region's most important ancient settlements. According to Heritage Daily, previous excavations dated the entire stone city of Haochengzui to approximately 4,300 to 4,500 years ago. That also means the underground tunnel network recently discovered beneath the site has existed for at least 4,300 years. Built during a time when many parts of the world were still in the earliest stages of civilization. Haochengzui was constructed during the Longshan period, an era marking the rise of Neolithic societies in China, famous for their black pottery culture, also known as Longshan culture. Many archaeologists believe this was the period when ancient Chinese society first began developing early power structures and primitive military organization. The entire stone city of Haochengzui covers an area of approximately 341 acres, including both the inner and outer city. But the feature that has amazed researchers the most is the triple-layered defensive system surrounding the settlement. The ancient inhabitants built moats, city walls, and multiple connected defensive structures, creating a massive fortress in the barren lands of Inner Mongolia. According to the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, recent excavations revealed that the tunnel network beneath Haochengzui was arranged in a radial pattern extending outward from the center of the ancient city. The system includes 6 main passageways buried at depths ranging from about 5 feet to nearly 20 feet underground. What is especially remarkable is that the tunnel ceilings were constructed in an arched shape, very similar to the cave-style dwellings associated with ancient Longshan culture. This shows that the ancient builders were not digging tunnels randomly. They truly understood structural design and load-bearing engineering. Archaeologists believe the underground network served multiple purposes. It acted as a secret transportation route that allowed residents to move safely during times of war, functioned as a defensive system against enemies, and may even have been used for surprise counterattacks launched from underground. Just hearing that already makes it sound like a modern military system, doesn't it? 4,000-year-old gold-hilted sword beneath a soccer field in Scotland. A Bronze Age secret has just awakened. You know, our world may seem very small, but it holds countless fascinating and mysterious secrets. Some secrets lie hidden inside pyramids, while others are buried beneath vast deserts. But some of the most incredible mysteries are not hidden in majestic places like those. Instead, they lie right beneath a modern soccer field, where people walk every day without realizing that beneath their feet are the remains of a world that vanished thousands of years ago. A powerful example of this comes from a discovery in Carnoustie, Angus, Scotland. While workers were constructing a new soccer field, they unexpectedly struck an ancient metal object buried deep underground. At first, nobody thought it was important, but as layers of mud and dirt were carefully cleared away, the shape of an ancient sword slowly began to appear. And at that very moment, the entire construction site was immediately shut down. After being notified, archaeologists quickly arrived at the scene to expand the investigation. They understood that this discovery might not simply be an ancient weapon, but possibly a clue leading to an entire cache of Bronze Age artifacts lying dormant beneath the soil of Scotland. And do you know what shocked experts the most? It was the sword's hilt, which was made of gold. Although the sword itself was relatively small, it displayed extremely distinctive features of the Bronze Age, a period around 4,000 years ago when humans first began mastering metallurgy and crafting far more sophisticated weapons. Just imagine it. 4,000 years ago, while much of the world still lived in primitive communities, people in this cold northern land of Europe already possessed bronze weapons decorated with intricate gold details. Doesn't that suggest that society at the time may have been far more advanced than we once believed? For that very reason, immediately after being excavated, the ancient sword was transported to a laboratory for extensive scientific analysis. Researchers hope that studying the artifact will help them better understand its origin, manufacturing techniques, and the role this weapon may have played in ancient society. According to initial assessments, the sword may have been broken long before it was buried underground. However, because the artifact is both extremely ancient and exceptionally rare, experts have not yet reached a final conclusion. Archaeologist Alan Hunter Blair, the lead researcher on the project, stated that the archaeological team is still working to uncover additional artifacts around the discovery site. He described the find as extraordinarily rare for Scottish archaeology. What makes the discovery even more significant is that it may be connected to a Bronze Age weapons hoard dating back thousands of years. And if that is true, then many more secrets could still be hidden beneath the ground of Carnoustie. And this is not the first time the area has surprised archaeologists. Previously, scientists discovered the remains of a Bronze Age woman believed to have died around 3,700 years ago in Carnoustie. Evidence gathered from multiple excavations suggests that this region was once heavily populated during the Bronze Age. That means the place, which today is covered with soccer fields, streets, and modern houses, was once home to ancient communities skilled in metallurgy, tool-making, and perhaps even warriors who fought with swords thousands of years ago. Just hearing that is enough to send chills down your spine, isn't it? Because sometimes history never truly disappears. It simply lies silently beneath the earth, waiting for the day humans accidentally awaken it. A small sword with a golden hilt could open the door to an enormous story about Bronze Age civilization in Scotland. And who knows, beneath that unfinished soccer field, there may still be ancient tunnels, warrior tombs, or even the hidden treasures of a community that vanished from the world 4,000 years ago. The deeper we dig, the more history reveals that humanity's past still holds far more secrets than we ever imagined. The 2,000-year-old jars of the dead on the island of Corsica. My friends, hidden beneath layers of soil and stone behind an ancient church on the island of Corsica in France, archaeologists have uncovered a strange cemetery containing more than 40 ancient graves that had remained undisturbed for nearly 2,000 years. A discovery chilling enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. But the most disturbing part was the way the dead had been buried. There were no wooden coffins, no elaborate tomb chambers. Instead, many of the skeletal remains were carefully placed inside enormous ceramic jars, once used to store wine, olive oil, and ancient trade goods. Just hearing that already makes it sound like some mysterious Roman-era ritual, doesn't it? This extraordinary discovery was made by French archaeologists in the commune of Île-Rousse on the island of Corsica, located in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea and belonging to France. The excavation took place before the area was scheduled for a new construction project. Because if researchers did not investigate the site now, everything that remained of the past could have been buried forever beneath modern concrete. The research team came from INRAP, the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research, and was sent to the small village to search for traces of past human life. Interestingly, the area around Île-Rousse had previously produced very few major archaeological discoveries. For that reason, experts did not have especially high expectations for this excavation, but everything quickly changed. From the very first layers of soil that were removed, archaeologists began uncovering signs of ancient burials. A preliminary survey conducted by INRAP in 2019 had already recorded evidence of more than a dozen burial sites scattered around the area. Then, in February of this year, large-scale excavations officially began at the two sites considered the most promising. And the deeper the team dug into the soil of Corsica, the more they realized the area was hiding far more secrets than they had imagined. More than 40 ancient graves gradually emerged beneath the layers of dirt and stone, dating back to around the middle of the first millennium. The remains of numerous individuals were discovered behind the town's church, a place that had unknowingly served as an ancient cemetery for thousands of years. But what astonished archaeologists the most was the method of burial. As experts excavated each individual grave, they realized that most of the bodies had not been buried in traditional coffins. Instead, the remains had been placed inside large two-handled ceramic jars. According to researchers, these massive jars were originally used to transport liquid and dry goods brought to Corsica from the ancient city of Carthage, located in present-day Tunisia, between the 4th and 7th centuries. At that time, the people of Corsica regularly traded with Carthaginian merchants for large quantities of wine, olive oil, and salt. As a result, many of these two-handled jars were imported to the island. After they had been used, ancient people repurposed them as special coffins for the dead. This shows that ancient Corsica was once an important part of the vast Mediterranean trade network. These burial jars were not simply funeral objects. They were traces of an entire economy and civilization that once flourished there. And the discoveries did not stop there. The archaeological team also uncovered several stone graves, reinforced with special terracotta materials. According to initial assessments, these may have been tiles associated with ancient Greek and Roman architecture. That means this cemetery may have been directly influenced by several major civilizations that once dominated the Mediterranean region. Just hearing that is enough to make Corsica seem like a crossroads between multiple ancient worlds, isn't it? But even more unsettling is the fact that scientists believe many more graves still remain buried beneath the ground of Ile Rousse. Every ancient jar, every skeleton, and every fired clay brick feels like a fragment of memory buried for nearly 2,000 years, now slowly being awakened by modern humanity. At present, INRAP has confirmed that archaeological and anthropological studies in the area will continue in order to better understand the identities of the people buried inside these enormous jars, as well as how they lived, traded, and faced death in the heart of the ancient Mediterranean world. Hopefully, researchers will soon uncover the answers. Until then, let's wait and see what other secrets this mysterious island may reveal. 4 child skeletons found beneath the 4 corners of a Zhou dynasty tomb, and the outrageous human sacrifice ritual of ancient China. You know, some ancient tombs amaze people because of their gold, silver, and priceless treasures. But there are also tombs that send chills down people's spines, not because of the wealth hidden inside, but because of the cruel secrets buried beneath them for thousands of years. And the story discovered in Henan Province, China, is one of those horrifying discoveries. Back in the 1980s, during an archaeological excavation in Puyang Town, Henan Province, experts uncovered an ancient tomb dating back to the Zhou dynasty, a period that lasted from 1046 BC to 256 BC. At first, the tomb did not attract much attention from researchers. The reason was simple. The tomb was relatively small, and it had already been looted by grave robbers long ago. Most of its burial objects had been stolen, leaving behind what appeared to be nothing more than a heavily damaged ruin with little archaeological value compared to the countless other ancient tombs found across China. But sometimes, history hides its darkest secrets in the places no one expects. Because the tomb was located directly on land scheduled for a new construction project, archaeologists decided to carry out an emergency excavation before the site was completely leveled. That seemingly routine decision unexpectedly opened the door to a discovery that still haunts many people to this day. As the lower layers of soil were gradually removed, the experts suddenly realized that something unusual lay beneath the 4 corners of the tomb. And then the terrifying truth emerged. Hidden beneath each corner of the tomb were the separate skeletal remains of 4 children. Just hearing that alone is enough to give anyone goosebumps, isn't it? What shocked archaeologists even more was that all 4 skeletons had been remarkably well preserved. Even though the children had not been placed inside coffins, their bones remained relatively intact after thousands of years underground. Immediately, countless questions arose. Who were these children? Why were they buried beneath the 4 corners of the tomb instead of beside the tomb's owner? And what exactly had happened to them more than 2,000 years ago? To find answers, experts conducted detailed examinations and scientific analyses of the remains. The results left the entire research team horrified. The skeletal structures of all 4 children contained traces of mercury, also known by its chemical symbol Hg. This discovery was extremely important because it indicated that the children did not die from disease or natural causes. According to the research findings, the children had been forced to ingest mercury in order to die alongside the owner of the tomb, and it did not end there. At the time of burial, mercury had also been poured over the victims' bodies in an attempt to preserve the remains for a longer period of time. Deep beneath the cold earth of an ancient tomb, 4 innocent children became sacrificial offerings to the beliefs and ambitions of the living. So why did this happen? The answer lies in the design of the tomb itself. Based on the tomb's structure and burial scale, archaeologists believe the owner was most likely a wealthy landowner or nobleman during the Zhou dynasty. In that ancient society, many people believed death was not the end, but merely a doorway into another world. And in order to continue enjoying a life of wealth and luxury after death, they wanted servants, and even messengers, to accompany them into the afterlife. According to beliefs at the time, children were considered pure beings, untouched by worldly corruption, and were thought to possess a special connection to heaven, earth, and the spiritual world. Because of that belief, the tomb's owner forced these children to be buried alongside him, hoping they would become spiritual intermediaries capable of helping him ascend to heaven and continue living in glory after death. It was a brutal burial custom born from human greed and the obsession with immortality. The tear-soaked tomb of Zhu Yuanzhang and the hundreds of women buried alive with the emperor. Deep among the cold mountain ranges where the royal tombs of the Ming dynasty have rested silently for centuries in China, there exists a secret so horrifying that every mention of it still sends chills down people's spines. It is said that after the death of the founding emperor of the Ming dynasty, the entire imperial palace was filled with the sound of crying for many days. But the people were not crying because the emperor had died. They were crying for those who were forced to die with him. Can you imagine it? Inside the vast imperial palace with its dark red walls, once a symbol of the supreme power of the Ming dynasty, hundreds of imperial concubines and beautiful women had lived surrounded by silk, luxury, and wealth, believing they would spend their lives in honor and prosperity. But overnight, everything changed when the supreme emperor passed away. The living were forced to follow the dead, and that haunting story is forever tied to Zhu Yuanzhang, also known as the Hongwu Emperor, the powerful yet notoriously ruthless founding ruler of the Ming dynasty in China. According to historical records, numerous female skeletons were discovered inside his tomb, revealing a terrifying burial custom that once horrified Chinese society: the practice of human sacrifice burial. This custom involved burying living people alongside the dead and had existed since the earliest periods of ancient Chinese history. Those selected for sacrifice were usually concubines, servants, or people especially favored by the tomb's owner during life. The origin of this brutal custom came from the belief that the afterlife mirrors the world of the living. Ancient people believed that after death, the human soul continued to exist in another realm. And in order to continue being served after death, many kings and nobles forced living people to accompany them into the grave. Just hearing that is horrifying enough, isn't it? During the Qin dynasty and Han dynasty, this practice was once extremely common. Countless innocent people lost their lives simply to satisfy the superstitious beliefs and hunger for power of the ruling class. However, after the Han dynasty, because of its extreme cruelty, the custom of sacrificial burial gradually disappeared from Chinese society. But centuries later, when Zhu Yuanzhang rose to power, the ritual that had once seemed extinct began to return. According to historical records, in 1395, after Zhu Shuang, Zhu Yuanzhang's second son, died, the emperor made a decision that would outrage future generations. He ordered the prince's primary wife and secondary consorts to be buried alive alongside their husband. The reason given was that the deceased prince should have companions and caretakers in the afterlife, so he would not be lonely in the underworld. But behind that justification was effectively a death sentence for women who had absolutely no control over their own lives. And the greatest tragedy truly began in 1398, the year Zhu Yuanzhang himself died. After the death of the Hongwu Emperor, Zhu Yunwen ascended the throne. Following the final wishes left by his grandfather, the new emperor ordered that all imperial concubines and palace women who had never borne children must die alongside Zhu Yuanzhang. That command plunged the entire imperial court into mourning, fear, and resentment. Throughout the imperial harem echoed the sounds of desperate crying. Some women were given poisoned wine in order to end their own lives. Others were handed white silk cords approximately 23 feet long and forced to hang themselves. According to historical accounts, many powerful concubines tried every possible way to escape their horrifying fate. Some attempted to flee the palace. Others relied on powerful allies in hopes of being spared. There were even people who, driven by personal grudges, tried to force others to die in their place. The death of the Ming dynasty's infamous and ruthless emperor did not merely mark the end of a reign built on blood and power. It also unleashed thousands of heartbreaking cries throughout the imperial palace that year. Monster that breathed through its legs, frozen inside. Fool's gold for 500 million years. Hidden deep within ancient rock layers from a time when Earth did not even have dinosaurs yet, scientists have uncovered a discovery that has stunned the entire field of paleontology. The secret belongs to a tiny creature that lived 500 million years ago and left behind fossil evidence so perfectly preserved that modern scientists can actually observe its bizarre breathing system. And the part that sounds almost unbelievable is this: the creature did not breathe through gills or lungs like most familiar animals today. Instead, it breathed through its front legs. This strange story began with two ancient trilobite fossils preserved in extraordinary condition thanks to a special mineral called pyrite, more commonly known by the nickname Fool's Gold. Just hearing that name already sounds mysterious, doesn't it? The discovery was studied by a scientific team led by Dr. Jinbo Ho from the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences at University of California, Riverside. The researchers analyzed fossils from two ancient trilobite species, Olenoides serratus and Triarthris etoni. According to the study, one species lived around 500 million years ago, while the other appeared approximately 450 million years ago. What makes these fossils extraordinary is that both became trapped inside molten pyrite hundreds of millions of years ago. That unique mineral layer accidentally created a natural metal armor that completely coated the creature's bodies. Because of that, even the smallest and most fragile internal structures remained preserved in near-perfect condition. To most people, pyrite is simply a mineral often mistaken for real gold because of its shiny brass-yellow appearance. That is exactly why it earned the nickname Fool's Gold. But to paleontologists, pyrite can sometimes be even more valuable than actual gold. That is because pyrite, scientifically known as iron disulfide, or FeS2, possesses an extraordinary ability to preserve fossils. It can protect even the tiniest anatomical details that would normally disappear over time. Thanks to this layer of fake gold, scientists were able to look deep inside the body of a creature that existed during the earliest explosion of life on Earth. According to a study published in Science Advances, the research team used advanced CT scanning technology to analyze the delicate structures hidden inside the two fossils. They then reconstructed 3D models of microscopic filaments located inside the branches of the creature's front legs. And that is when the truly shocking discovery appeared. These tiny filaments functioned like respiratory organs. The creature's blood was filtered through small chambers to absorb oxygen while it moved. In other words, this ancient monster literally breathed through its legs. Interestingly, this had actually been a controversial theory within the scientific community for many years. Previously, many paleontologists suspected that the microscopic tubes inside trilobite legs were related to respiration, but they had never found clear enough evidence to confirm it. The reason was simple. The structures were incredibly tiny. They measured only around 0.0004 to 0.0012 inches across, many times smaller than a human hair. Not only that, but their location in the legs created another major mystery. After all, those limbs would have been highly vulnerable to being clogged by mud and sediment on the seafloor of the ancient oceans. So why would such a creature evolve its respiratory organs in such a strange location? Even now, the study's own authors admit that this question still remains unanswered. Trilobites are among the most famous ancient creatures in Earth's history. They first appeared around 500 to 40 million years ago and went extinct approximately 250 million years ago. These animals emerged during the Cambrian explosion, a period when life on Earth suddenly diversified at an unprecedented rate. Countless bizarre new organisms appeared, creating evolutionary leaps that permanently changed the history of life on our planet. And perhaps the most astonishing part of all is that after lying silently underground for 500 million years, a tiny creature that seemed completely erased by time has unexpectedly helped modern humanity better understand how life once evolved on Earth. Pretty fascinating, isn't it? It just goes to show that sometimes Earth's greatest secrets are not hidden inside pyramids or ancient cities, but inside a tiny fossil covered in fool's gold for 500 million years. Two skeletons held hands for 3,500 years inside an ancient tomb in Siberia. Normally, when people think about archaeology, they immediately imagine gold, treasure, or long-buried secrets. But this time, what left researchers stunned was an emotional moment that survived more than 3 millennia of history: a simple handhold. According to the research team, the two skeletons were discovered in the village of Stary Tartus in Siberia, Russia. Initial analysis determined that they lived during the Bronze Age, approximately 3,500 years ago. The man and woman were buried lying extremely close to one another inside the grave. Unlike typical ancient burial customs, they were placed face to face with their fingers tightly intertwined as if they never wanted to let go. The scene left many archaeologists speechless during the excavation itself, because after thousands of years, nearly everything else may have decayed with time, yet the final position of these two individuals remained almost perfectly preserved. That discovery immediately sparked countless theories. Were they husband and wife, lovers, or was this some kind of spiritual burial ritual practiced by the ancient people of Siberia? What makes the story even more intriguing is that this mysterious couple was not the only unusual discovery at Stary Tartus. During the excavation, archaeologists also uncovered several other graves where children had been buried alongside adults. This detail made the research even more complicated. According to scientists, children and adults buried together in the same grave are often connected by blood relations, such as parent and child or other family members. But when two adults are placed together in such a unique way, the story behind it becomes far more mysterious. Professor Vyacheslav Molodin, director of research at the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography in Siberia, said the team is still trying to uncover the truth behind these remains, and the most important answers may come from DNA testing. If the DNA reveals that they were related, the discovery could reflect the early emergence of the nuclear family model, a family consisting of parents and children in ancient society. In other words, this could be evidence that thousands of years ago, humans had already begun forming family structures surprisingly similar to those of modern society. However, not every theory surrounding the discovery is so gentle. Some experts have proposed a far darker possibility. They believe that after the man died, the woman may have been killed and buried alongside him as part of an ancient ritual sacrifice. If that is true, then the handhold preserved for 3,500 years is no longer a symbol of love, but perhaps the final trace of a tragedy buried beneath the frozen soil of Siberia. What makes this discovery truly remarkable is not only the age of the tomb, it is the deeply human feeling it leaves behind. Because even though time erased every face, every story, and even the civilization that once existed there, the final posture of these two skeletons still allows future generations to sense a strange and powerful connection. Maybe it was love, maybe it was duty, or perhaps it was a ritual that modern humanity may never fully understand. To this day, Russian archaeologists continue studying the remains discovered at Stary Tartus in an effort to uncover the truth behind this ancient grave. But perhaps the most haunting detail of all is that after more than 3 millennia beneath the frozen ground of Siberia, Russia, when almost everything else had disappeared with time, those two hands had still never let go of each other. A scene that feels both heartbreaking and beautiful, isn't it? 100,000-year-old paint workshop inside an African cave. Hidden deep inside an ancient cave along the southern coast of South Africa, where ocean waves have crashed relentlessly against the cold cliffs for tens of thousands of years, scientists uncovered a discovery that stunned the archaeological world. Beneath layers of sand and seemingly lifeless rock, they found evidence of an ancient paint workshop dating back more than 100,000 years. A time when humans still lived in caves and the world had barely begun to understand the concept of civilization. What makes the discovery so astonishing is that the findings were not merely a few stone fragments or ordinary hunting tools. Instead, researchers uncovered an entire toolkit used for creating paint. This extraordinary discovery was made inside Blombos Cave in southern South Africa. The cave lies south of the Cape Coast and approximately 224 miles east of Cape Town. Since its discovery in the early 1990s, Blombos Cave has become a famous archaeological site that has continuously revealed important insights into the lives and thinking of ancient humans. But this time, what scientists uncovered went far beyond previous expectations. According to the research team, inside Blombos Cave, they discovered a wide range of tools used by prehistoric humans to create paint more than 100,000 years ago. Among the artifacts were abalone shells used as paint containers, colored stones for grinding raw materials, and bone tools resembling paintbrushes and stirring sticks. These discoveries show that ancient humans did far more than hunt or shelter inside caves. They knew how to craft sophisticated tools. They knew how to mix materials. They knew how to store pigments. And most importantly, they had already begun developing creative thinking at a very early stage of human history. Professor Christopher Henshelwood from the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa, stated that this is extremely important evidence demonstrating the evolution of complex thinking in ancient humans. In other words, our ancestors may have been far more intelligent and creative than science once believed. To create paint, people of that era had to understand how to choose suitable materials, crush them into powder, mix them with liquid, and carefully store them in containers. This was no random act. It was an entire process that required memory, skill, and organized thinking. Interestingly, Blombos Cave had already shocked the archaeological community before. In 2002, scientists discovered pieces of ochre at the site dating back around 70,000 years that contained iron oxide, a mineral ancient people used as pigment. That discovery was once considered rare evidence that prehistoric humans understood the use of color. But these new findings push the story even further, because now researchers have not only found pigments, but an entire art toolkit belonging to ancient humans. It is almost as if humanity has just opened the door into the workspace of the first artists on Earth. Many experts believe that activities such as painting, pigment making, and decorating objects help to drive the intellectual development of the human species. Because art is not just about images, it is also a way for humans to learn how to imagine, remember, and communicate their thoughts to others. And that may have become the foundation for language, culture, and later civilization itself. What surprises many people the most is that all of this existed more than 100,000 years ago, far earlier than scientists once imagined. In the darkness of Blombos Cave in South Africa, the old abalone shells and bone tools lay silently for thousands of centuries. But once uncovered, they told future generations an extraordinary story. That even at the very dawn of humanity, there were already people who wanted more than simply surviving in a harsh natural world. They also wanted to create color, art, and a unique mark of their own within that mysterious prehistoric world. My friends, after all the discoveries we've explored today, perhaps the most frightening thing is not the ancient skeletons or the thousands of years-old mummies, but the fact that human history still holds far too many mysteries that remain unsolved. Every tomb that is opened, every fossil that is uncovered, feels like a doorway leading us back into humanity's mysterious past. And who knows, even right now, somewhere beneath the ground on this earth, there may still be terrifying secrets waiting to be discovered. Do you think so too? Or do you have a different opinion? If you do, leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any other fascinating discoveries from ancient history. For now, goodbye, and I'll see you again in our next journeys of exploration.